But let's start in Philadelphia, a story that is developing. As the 76ers star Paul George, he underwent a successful arthroscopic procedure on his left knee on Monday to treat an injury he sustained during a recent workout. Now, PG, he played 41 games in his first of 4 years in Philadelphia last season. As we say good afternoon to our senior insider, Shams Charania, who broke this story. Shams, when exactly did this injury occur, and how will it impact the rest of PG's offseason here?
Malika, I'm told Paul George suffered the injury during an on-court workout last week, and it led to him visiting a doctor on Friday. And the decision was made to undergo arthroscopic surgery because the doctors felt like this would be an injury that would linger for a player that was never healthy all last year. Paul George's season ended rehabbing from injections on groin and knee injuries. He had a finger injury during the season as well. And so now he starts rehab for this knee injury, and he will be reevaluated at the start of this upcoming training camp. But I am told both sides will be cautious with him. They want to see Paul George return to that full form Paul George they just have not seen in Philadelphia. So I do expect both sides to be cautious from this injury that Paul George suffered last week.
Okay, so this is essentially so that they can hopefully see that full-strength Paul George that we're all waiting for in Philadelphia that never quite came to fruition. Shams, thank you so very much. Please don't go too far. This has been a busy offseason, and we always want to keep tabs on that news. The Sixers' big three, though, Embiid, Maxey, George, Shams mentioned it. They played just 15 games together last season, with Philadelphia going 7-8 with that trio sharing the floor together. Injuries really derailed a lot of teams in the East for this upcoming season. It is the most wide open that we have seen a conference in quite some time. And on paper, that should open things up for the 76ers, but that hasn't quite been the case. Brian, what is it going to take for the Sixers to really contend here in this conference?
Well, they need to have their three best players on their feet in the playoffs, but they have to get to the playoffs, which they didn't last year because of these injuries. And Malika, this is a gut punch to the 76ers. Shams was talking about seeing the doctor on Friday. It was just on Friday that Daryl Morey at a press conference in Las Vegas was talking about how Paul George was so much looking forward to getting onto the court to show the Philadelphia fans what he can do. And I assume later that day he got this news. The words were still coming out of his mouth when this happened. I cannot believe this. And I will just say, from being around the NBA for 20 plus years, I can just tell you there's no such thing as minor knee surgery. Even the most basic procedure requires a big recovery. It is July. If you're going to have an injury, you want it to happen in July, not in the spring. But another setback for this team that needs this team to be together to get some momentum. Daryl has basically had to spend half of his press conference just giving injury updates to guys who are coming back from other knee surgeries. Jared McCain and Joel Embiid. And now there's another knee surgery. It's crazy what's going on there.
Yeah, look, if you want to turn the injuries off on 2K, then we can talk about the Sixers as a contender. But what are we talking about here? The expectations were there last summer. They're not there now because this is not a team that you can trust to put a healthy product on the court. I mean, what's the best realistic case for Joel Embiid?
Is a 50 games,
Maybe.
and that's what this team was built to do, right? I was with the 76ers at the beginning of training camp last summer, or at the beginning of the season, rather, and I was told by Paul George and Joel Embiid. Joel said, I don't expect to be an 82-game player anymore. He's not even expecting to meet that 65 game. He's won an MVP before. The team around him is supposed to be able to endure, and with Jared McCain injuries, and we saw what happened with Paul George, it just hasn't been the case.
And so you're going to load manage your way through a season with a group that's barely played together, and then suddenly somehow microwave chemistry for a deep playoff run that Joel Embiid has never yet been able to lead the Sixers on. There's a whole lot of ifs here.
And that becomes even more difficult when you're looking at, okay, do you want to put VJ Edgecombe in the starting lineup for them? You can't microwave that chemistry. There's not years of familiarity to rely on here.
Yeah, and with Paul George, man, I thought about what happened with USA Basketball in 2014, and I've talked to him about how much that trickled down from that has affected his whole career. I'm always going to think what if with him with that injury. But I'm excited about VJ Edgecombe. I think he could get back to the lineup tonight. playing for the Sixers.
But even that, 76ers fans are already saying, welcome to the 76ers.
But he's special.
Yes,
he's special. I've been watching him since he played in the Hoop Summit last year. 28-10 the first game. Yes, it's Summer League. But he has a different thing about him, an it about him. And if they go with this three-guard lineup, assuming these guys are healthy, Edgecombe, McCain, Maxey, I think they're pretty formidable if they could get some games out of Embiid with that lineup. I
agree with you on them being a formidable lineup if they're all out there. You can see here them shooting around VJ Edgecombe and Jared McCain, who we didn't get to see a whole lot either. Jared McCain was on a track to potentially be a Rookie of the Year candidate. Yeah. He was when he went down with that injury. But when you're thinking about the best case, Brian, for Joel Embiid and the 76ers this upcoming season, what does that look like? We talk about the Knicks. We talk about the Cavaliers. On paper, we should be talking about the 76ers as well.
Okay, so I think what you're looking at, because you know Embiid will not be right at the beginning of the season, and now you know that Paul George will not be right at the beginning of the season.
Right.
So what you're having to hope for is that with the VJ Edgecombe, they were able to get this major talent infusion with the return of some of their other young players who were bothered by injuries last year, that they will be able to at least be a top 6 team. And so that what you're hoping is that by the end of the season, that people have worked through their issues, are off their restrictions with various surgeries, and that they can be a top-level team. But these are all hopes and suppositions and projections, Malika. Like, yes, if that roster that you're looking at there is mostly healthy by the spring, you look at the ability to win 4 out of 7. Yeah, I would favor them in a lot of series, but it's, as McMahon said, it's very difficult for me to make an honest projection when they played together for 15 games for the last whole season.
Yeah, look, this is a franchise, a team that has as much upside as anybody in the East, but more question marks than anybody in the East. And the simple fact, the Philadelphia 76ers are built on a flimsy foundation. They are built on a foundation of 2 max players who might be the 2 worst value contracts in the NBA. And it is not about talent. Joel Embiid and Paul George are incredibly talented players. It doesn't matter if you're doing that sitting on the bench in street clothes.
Well, Mark, we're always hearing Kendrick Perkins say that this is Tyrese Maxey's team. Even Joel Embiid nicknamed him the franchise. Maybe that's for a reason. Joel Embiid wants to win. It's so clear. I feel for Joel. By the way, we're talking about these injuries. These guys want to be out here. These guys want to solidify themselves as winners, but maybe this team needs to start going maybe a little bit more as Tyrese goes.
Yeah, and the money that those 2 superstars make, what are you going to do with that? You can't move them.
Right. It's hard to say that, though, when you have someone as talented as Joel Embiid still on your team. Because I don't want that to get lost.
The injuries combined with the money, like, there's too much risk.
Right.
But Tyrese Maxey, hey, man, now's your time.
That was well put. As much upside as there is question marks about an incredibly talented 76ers team. We do have one question answered, though, with some breaking news here, new on NBA Today. Caitlin Clark will be participating in the WNBA All-Star Weekend 3-point contest here. It makes